I've been evicted from every place I've ever lived except the one where I live now. I finally had to buy so that I wouldn't get evicted. Hunter S. Thompson.
Oh, I didn't see you there. Hey, Derek, how's it going?
Oh, Thomas? Hey, what's up? Good to see you.
Guess it's time for Bitcoin Talk
I
Show.
guess it is. It's Wednesday at 3 p.m. on the East Coast, so let's get started. There's lots of stuff going on in the world of Bitcoin. The price went up yesterday amid news that PayPal will be soon integrating. That's exciting. Anyone have any idea how that's going to look?
I think it's going to look a lot like BitPay. The PayPal logo's on it.
Yeah, I can't imagine it would be too different. We've also got news that Ripple is going to be integrating its protocol into 2 U.S. banks, one of them in New Jersey. That's pretty interesting, because I don't even know, maybe someone here can explain to me what the Ripple protocol even is and what that would mean for a U.S. bank. And then some speculation as to why the price has been doing what it's doing over not just the last week or two, but the last, year or so. Because even though the price went up significantly yesterday, it's still about 50% below where it began the year. So let's get into that and more. What do you think is the most important thing going on in the world of Bitcoin this week, Theo?
The most important thing? Well, Bitcoin isn't dead. I think there's a web page. What is it? I think it's isbitcoindead.com, and you can check it if you're ever wondering if Bitcoin is still alive. And you can get your answer. I think that's the most important thing. I've got a little family issues going on in the background here, as you might hear.
Okay,
but
that's cool.
Yeah, that's life, right? People have to go to sleep, and they don't want to go to sleep, and they get, But anyway,
give lots of love.
Oh yeah, right. See, is Bitcoin dead? Bring it up. Go to Thomas. Show us Thomas. Is
dead?
Bitcoin dead, Thomas?
No, not dead.
Great. So that's the most important thing, I think. And anyway, even if the price was 0, it wouldn't be dead. I mean, you'd still have these numbers, ones and zeros or whatever, on your computer. So it would never really be dead unless nobody used it, I think. So I think that's the most important thing. There are the headlines that everyone's been talking about, Butterfly Labs and a few others.
What headlines? What are you talking about?
Well, I think the Federal Bureau for Communications, or whatever the hell they're called, invaded Butterfly Labs. But I mean, I don't know if everyone has a background about Butterfly Labs, but I don't really understand why people were still sending them any money anyway. Because Butterfly Labs is well known for...
Right? They were one of the first companies to put out mining equipment so that miners could start generating some of their own Bitcoins at home. And they were really disappointing to a lot of their first customers because people put down serious money for these miners, and then by the time they received them, they weren't able to do anything with them that was productive enough to recoup the investment, right?
Well, yeah, that's one thing. Basically, they use the classic, or in the crypto world and some other tech worlds, I understand, the classic pre-sale model, where you say, hey, we're going to come out with these really cool things in 6 months or 3 months, and this is what they're going to be doing. They're going to be really powerful and amazing, and you're going to be rich if you get these. So order now, and send us the money now, and then you hope you get them in 3 or 6 months, and of course things get delayed, they don't perform as they were advertised, etc. And I mean, it could be just that they bit off more than they could chew, because it's not so easy to manufacture these things. It could be simple fraud, like a Ponzi style thing. It could be a mixture. It seems like they were getting the gear and then mining themselves. Of course, that's debatable.
Yourself, Theo?
What now? No, I'm not a customer, and I'm glad I'm not. But
one of those complaints was definitely from me.
Did you buy something? Did you order something from Butterfly Labs?
It was a little late. I wasn't exactly early to the game, but I bought like a $300 miner, and it was supposed to come in about 3 months, and I hoped that it would make $900. I think it came in about a year, and it made about $300. So
Yeah.
it was not a very exciting year. And the worst part of this, a lot of people, they spent way more than $300. And what's worse, they spent Bitcoins. And of course, during this year where everyone's waiting for Butterfly Labs, Bitcoin goes from like $100 to $1,000. So a lot of people regret their decision to purchase from Butterfly Labs. And I imagine they got a lot of complaints. When I finally realized they were never going to ship it to me, Better Business Bureau, FTC, police, credit card companies, PayPal, whoever I could complain to, I complained to. So I imagine a lot of other people did the same.
Let's talk more about Butterfly Labs, but first we're also joined by Jamie Nelson, who is here across the interwebs with us. Jamie, what do you think is the most important thing going on in the world of Bitcoin this week?
Well, I'm with Theo. It's not dead, and it was nice to see it get a boost yesterday.
Do you really think it's going to be dead one of these weeks? Is that something that you expect to happen?
No, I just thought that was funny. That it,
Yeah, that is funny. So, what is the good news this week?
I think that we're seeing more and more adoption with companies, mainstream companies coming on board. PayPal adoption means people are going to start using it for Amazon, eBay, huge online outlets.
What do you mean people are going to start using it for Amazon? People are already using it for Amazon. I've been
I'm
buying
not.
Amazon using Bitcoin for years. You can do it through Gift, and they give you 3% back. You get a better deal than using cash.
And
Yeah.
people could even donate right now with the QR codes on our screen. I'll be sure to spend it at Amazon. There's some Led Zeppelin reissue records. I could order those right now.
Got a whole lot of love for Bitcoin.
Nice. Well, I'm excited about the fact that Bitcoin is still alive. That is something that I sometimes worry about. I know it might sound crazy because, like, I'm in a place where I can use Bitcoin at the corner store to go buy cigarettes or whatever I want, basically. And but when I read these headlines about the Bitcoin price going down, 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 and I talk with store owners, they're like, "Hey, Bitcoin's going down," and they're like unhappy about that because here I am, I keep spending Bitcoin in their store, and then they're not getting the money that they expected to get. Of course, I spent money there yesterday or 2 days ago. Then they made significantly more than what they would have if they had just taken dollars. So I don't know. I know Bitcoin isn't going anywhere, but is this an objection that you still face today, or is this pretty much in the grave? This thing like Bitcoin's gone, it's going to go to zero.
No, I don't think so. It's one of the bad things is, though, when we're at this price point of around $400, it's at the price point now where the mining and it's very hard to make a profit at mining Bitcoins. So it is very likely, if the price were to go down even lower, that the miners would quit mining it because it wouldn't be cost efficient to mine it. Then we could see a spiral in the miners quitting, and that would be devastating, I think.
Do you mine Bitcoins, Jamie?
I don't.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's an interesting scenario, and of course that could happen. But I wouldn't get too crypto apocalyptic on that, because once the big miners unplug because it's not profitable enough, then at the next difficulty adjustment, the difficulty will start going down, and theoretically, if it got really bad, then difficulty would go down so much that it could be profitable again for smaller operations like home miners to start mining again.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of things that would have to happen for it to be, quote, dead. I mean, there could be a point where some of the big operations are like, okay, forget it, it's unprofitable, we can't maintain this, unplug everything, and we're not re-upping on the new miners. But like I said, it would go down and there would be a chance. So I'm not a big miner, but I have a few of these little USB things because I just want to learn how it works, and occasionally I turn it on and just, let it mine a little bit. And I think the other day I took a nice picture of it. I have this like little fan, and it's like leaning on top of the laptop with this little USB thing sticking out, and I got like 2.5 gigahash with this little I totally overclocked it. I think I might have burned it out. I'm not sure, but anyway, it's just more of a fun thing for me to do. But I mean, theoretically, if the difficulty went down a whole lot, then that could be profitable too. At the moment, it's not. You're going to pay more for the electricity.
I thought the difficulty only goes up. Are you telling me it can go up or down?
Yeah, theoretically it can go down unless I'm totally wrong. Are you guys? I think if you really unplugged, if you unplugged Ghash and some other really big pool for I don't know how many weeks, then I think theoretically the difficulty would go down. Maybe I'm totally wrong. Anyone can correct
It makes
me.
a lot of sense to me. It sounds like it would be written right into the software.
Well, the difficulty goes down in other coins.
Yeah,
So
well, if there aren't enough people
too.
mining them, if the incentive isn't right, then the incentives have to be adjusted so that there are enough people who want.
Well, yeah, you see it. Well, that's what you see in the altcoin world. So you see, if you go to a page, if you're going to mine, you go to a page like Coin Wars, or it's spelled with a Z, or whatmine.com, and you type in, how many gigahash or megahash or whatever you have, and you see what altcoin is going to be the most profitable. And sometimes with SHA-256, Bitcoin is the most profitable, but not always. And you see some of their difficulties have gone way down, and that's why it's interesting to mine them, because their difficulty's low. So that's theoretically what would happen, and it wouldn't be a total crypto-apocalyptic event. Hello, Chris.
Hey, welcome,
Hello.
Chris. We're also joined by Mr. Chris Ellis. Welcome to Bitcoin Talk Show, Chris.
Good to be back. Good to see you again, Derek. It's been a while.
Likewise. Yes, it has. And you can also, do you mind? You can take control of the show, share your thoughts, join us by Skyping in. Send a contact request to Bitcoin Talk Show or dial 1-708-23-COINS. That's 708-23-COINS. We want to hear from you. You can also tweet at BTC Talk. So get those questions rolling. What's the difficulty right now for Bitcoin? Does anyone know? And where do we find that answer? Inquiring minds.
We talked about it earlier. Do you have that tab open?
I do, in fact, because I always have it open. No, I literally do. It's kind of...
How many tabs do you always have open, Chris?
Maximum I've ever had is 400, but typically it's between 100 and 200. But yeah, I'm a massive ADHD sufferer, or I don't know whether it's suffering or it's a benefit. But anyway, we are at 33 billion difficulty. I think that's billion. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes.
Can you help me understand what that means? What does that number tell me?
I believe that is the number of preceding zeros in the nonce that the miner has to be able to generate in order for their proof of work to be accepted. So it's a big random number that the miner has to generate, and it's the difficulty is set so that statistically someone on the network is going to find it within about 10 minutes or so. And obviously there's variance. Sometimes you find it in 5 minutes, sometimes you have to wait 30-40 minutes until someone finds it. And it's the difficulty adjusts every 2,000 blocks, and that takes roughly 10 to 14 days. And what it does is, after every 2,000 blocks, is it says, okay, how quickly are we generating these blocks? So let me show you this chart here. And if the block generation time is going too quickly, it then makes the next set of sums in the next 2016 blocks even harder to adjust for extra capacity reaching the network. So it's like a self-adjusting level playing field that is there to make sure that the amount of energy applied in the network isn't advantageous to one group of people. As you apply more power on the network, the difficulty would just get up. And in many ways, some people have said that it's therefore just arbitrary, and the amount of energy that you're applying on the network is the net cost of the protection of fraud.
Now, I'm glad you explained that. We were just talking about this, and we weren't quite sure. It seems logical that the difficulty could be made easier, but I haven't heard of that happening in Bitcoin yet.
It has happened a couple of times, happened at the beginning of 2013, where the difficulty actually went down rather than up. But it's very unusual because we've seen the growth curve of Bitcoin, the amount of attention that it's getting in the media. Actually, there's a correlation between the difficulty and the Google searches that you get. If you go trends.google.com, type in Bitcoin, it will show you the popularity of Bitcoin searches on Google. And we have seen that whenever there is a rise in attention and focus on Bitcoin as an industry, you tend to see the amount of hashing power go up, because one of the most popular keywords is Bitcoin mining and how do I get into it and how do I, almost kind of get on the gold rush, as it were.
So far, Chris, we've all answered the question, what do we think is the most important thing going on in the world of Bitcoin this week? I know you've got some thoughts to share.
The most important thing going on in Bitcoin this week, I guess, would have to be the PayPal news and the Butterfly Labs. For me personally, though, of course, it's the way Bitcoin is misrepresented in the media. Obviously, I had a very negative experience with BBC Click. I don't want to belabor it too much, other than to say that over the next week or so, I want to kind of move the discussion forward, so that rather than, as Drac was saying, that maybe I was demonizing them, and I don't want to do that at all. But I would like to move and reframe the discussion so that we can say, look, once and for all, can we please come up with a framework on how the hell a journalist is supposed to report on Bitcoin? Because it just doesn't do that you try to explain the whole thing in 10 minutes in a 10-minute light entertainment broadcast, even though it's one of the richest, particularly the way that BBC Click took their angle on it from this ethical angle. They took a position known as the trolley problem in ethics. It took up a lot of philosophical discourse in the late 60s into the 70s, first proposed by Philippa Foot, and it is the counterfactual example of well, what would you do if you saw two trains colliding against each other and you had a lever and there was one person on one train but there were 5 people on the other? Would you sacrifice the one to save the 5? And it really tries to polarize and galvanize a debate in which you're trying to put the respondent to the question in a camp of either utilitarianism, which means the maximum amount, the right thing to do is the maximum happiness for the maximum number of people. Utilitarianism is what came out of the Enlightenment period, or deontology, which is from Kant, Immanuel Kant, which says no, you should act on principle and duty. That you should, if it's never right to kill someone, then it should never be right under any circumstances. But Philippa Foot, I believe, was a virtue ethicist. It's been a while since I've studied ethics. I got really bored of it. And virtue ethics says you do the unique thing in the unique way according to the unique situation, the Aristotelian phronimos. And I believe, personally, that everyone is a virtue ethicist, whether they like it or not. Because even if you're utilitarian, you've still decided to be utilitarian. You didn't become utilitarian on utilitarian grounds, did you? So at some point in your life, you looked at all these arguments and you took a virtuous decision, an important virtue. You took what you felt was important. And the problem with both deontology and utilitarianism, in my view, is that no one can predict the future. So you just don't know whether or not this is going to lead to the maximum happiness if you take this course of action. All you can do is act in the best way that you can with the unique situation ahead of you. You can't always act in the same way deontologically, which is what regulators try to do, where you've got one set of rules and you always apply those rules no matter what, or act in a utilitarian way where you try to work out, well, what are the consequences? In my opinion, the best ethics philosopher I've ever come across is Jack Bauer, 24. He was the best ethics philosopher ever because he never tied himself down to one philosophical discipline. He was never just utilitarian and nothing else. He was never deontological and nothing else. He was like, this is the right time to be utilitarian. I'm not going to let you set off that bomb or do that airstrike in that particular location, because in this particular scenario, I'm going to take a principled position. And then other times he would take a utilitarian position. So I thought 24 did a really good quietism on the whole philosophical debate. Quietism means that you just let the whole thing go. You just say, look, it's a difficult discussion. We're never going to arrive at it by going through all this philosophical. So anyway,
I find this very interesting, but what does it have to do with Bitcoin?
Because Bitcoin has everything to do with Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is bringing up these tough issues again, and it's helping us and it's making us question what motivates us. What is a good life? How should we compensate each other? How should value travel over distance? What is speech? if money is speech, if code is speech, if all these things are now being put under the rubric of speech, then what is speech? What was it when we first came up with the Founding Fathers and the principles of Western democracy, as Peter Todd was saying in the interview, where he wants to say, look, I'm moderate, I'm not a libertarian extremist, which is what they labeled them as in the documentary. I am a moderate. And
The Founding Fathers.
oh, so yes,
Extreme.
sorry. So I mean, like, yeah, I mean, like, the Founding Fathers of America. I'm talking about Jefferson et al., and also from the Enlightenment period.
Yeah.
Like, my right to shake my fist ends at your nose. John Locke. People
Yeah, the interviewer called these people what?
are libertarian extremists. Well, Jen didn't call it that. Bartlett. Jamie. I think his name is Jamie Bartlett. He's got a book out.
Hilarious.
Yeah, I know, and the problem is, the thing is that they're not wrong when it comes to Amir, although I don't know he uses the word libertarian, but he would certainly call himself an anarchist, I'm sure he would. But yeah, it's just not helpful using labels like that. That doesn't further the discussion, it doesn't add any nuance. And the problem is, I've just seen it too many times now. It's not even about Bitcoin. This is about truth and justice. This is about how the way you speak to the public. If you speak to the public like that, where you polarize the debate, and actually particularly setting us against Bellingcat, which is open source journalism, which is the same kind of thing that we're trying to do on this net, to put us side by side and to say one is the good guy, one is the bad guy, is just, you're stupefying your audience. You're not treating your audience with the respect that they deserve. You need to give them credit. You need to leave citations. We leave a plethora of links under all of our videos, and so that people can go off and learn for themselves, and if they've got a point of view, they can come on the show and air it.
Well, I need to send you a beer, Chris, because you deserve it. And where's your QR code? I can't send you a beer if I don't see your QR
It disappeared. I don't know. It was there and then it kind of went. Maybe it's
No, Chris is becoming an alcoholic. You can't send him a beer.
All right.
Yeah,
you
I might become an
buy
alcoholic.
some
Yeah.
tea with it then, or something. Or
So look, I've got some more trends if we want to look at it really quick. I have them because I'm
Take away Chris's QR
tracking
code
them
for
on
the
a
greater good.
see, here I've got the trends here. Check it out. So I've got let's see. This is past 90 days. I'm only I had a whole bunch more, but I just kind of narrowed it down a little. So here's some altcoins. I got Litecoin, Dogecoin, Darkcoin, and Ripple. And so there's a lot of interest in Dogecoin, and there's a lot of interest in Litecoin, but Dogecoin is really probably one of the most searched altcoins I could find. So that's why I included it in the comparison here.
why? Why is Doge?
Why? Because it's a cute little dog, and I don't know, but like if I tell people, I've talked to people on Facebook, like, hey, this is Thea, remember me? Oh yeah, it's like my friend's little brother, you know? And he's like, you're into Bitcoin, right? Yeah, I'm mining Dogecoin. And I was like, really? I don't know. People just know about it. I don't know why. But maybe because they have a NASCAR. I don't know why, but people know about it. People know about Ripple too, and we don't even understand what the hell Ripple is. But that has more searches than Darkcoin. So I don't know.
The reruns on MeTV of Sanford and Son. Ripple was the old wine that he drank.
Yeah, but I think I picked Ripple currency. So there is a way when you use Google Trends to make sure, because I'm still having trouble doing the one for NSA. I'm going to show you. It's coming up. So now I've got one. I did the altcoin exchanges, BTC, Crypti, Mint, Powell, Bitrex, and that looks really like artsy and colorful. It's really nice. I like the colors going on here, and I like these patterns. So I don't know what these spikes are. They might symbolize something, but I don't know. It could just be the weekend and people want to go to one of these. I don't know. But,
speaking of Ripple, I got a Ripple story. It's quick. Can you help me figure out what's really going on here? This just dropped today at CoinDesk.com. U.S. banks announced Ripple protocol integration by Stan Higgins. Ripple Labs has now sealed new partnerships that will bring its Ripple protocol to two U.S. banks.
Well, you know what? I think Kraken already uses Ripple. So Kraken has exchange.
And what is Kraken for those listeners who aren't familiar?
Okay, Kraken is an exchange, and they're a quite good one. And they have U.S. dollars, Canadian dollars, euro, and I think they might have some altcoins, but I'm not sure. But the thing that's interesting about them is that whenever the owner is at one of these bigwig conferences, he usually has some pretty cool stuff to say. I can't quote him right now, but I always thought, maybe it's just my objective point of view, but he seems to be a pretty cool guy, and I like what he had to say.
Okay.
And the other thing is that they did some really not weird, they did some really intense auditing. So again, I have to go back and look exactly. I can't explain how it's done, but during the whole Mt. Gox thing, they were like, okay, we want to show proof of funds, we want to show all that stuff, and they did a really good job of it,
All
from what
right.
I can tell.
Kraken,
Let's hope.
they also solved the transaction malleability bug before it became a problem. They famously tweeted, "Because planning," I think is what they said.
So
And
from what
the CEO is super cool. I know. So.
Okay, good. So from what I understand, is that so they have an account, I think, in Austria or somewhere in the EU. So it's really easy for people from Europe to send them money because there's this one system called SEPA, so Standard European Transaction, whatever the hell. And so you just can send it's a bank transfer, and it works in 24 hours now. Because it used to be the old way, they could hold your money for like 3 days if you sent it out of the country. Now they said, no, you can't do that anymore. It has to be 24 hours. And then anyway, it's really easy to send them money. And what they do is they use Ripple to do a transaction to their American bank account or their American, I don't know, whatever the hell. But so I know that they're using it, but I don't know if their bank is officially using it. I mean, they might just be somehow using it on the other end. From what I understand, Ripple is just an IOU system, and it works on something called consensus. But those are just like nice buzzwords, and I can't explain what that really means in practice in the Ripple system itself.
Well,
but it is.
Maybe we'll get some more explanation from this article. I don't know. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go on. Go on. Read it.
According to the company's announcement, Kansas-based CBW Bank and Cross River Bank, located in New Jersey, will be the first American banks to adopt Ripple's first open-source distributed transaction infrastructure. So this is weird. A Kansas-based know-nothing bank and some Cross River Bank in New Jersey. I mean, these are just like
they're innovators.
I guess like a big bank wouldn't be able to innovate as quickly as a small bank would. So
maybe, yeah.
The news comes several months after Ripple inked its first deal with the banking sector when German bank Fidor became the first institution of its kind to integrate the Ripple protocol.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
So Fidor uses Fidor. That's the bank that Kraken uses, and that's also the same bank that Bitcoin.de uses. And so basically, Bitcoin.de couldn't. The only exchange that exists in Germany can only operate because basically they just, in order to operate, they had to get a money transmitter license, but they couldn't get one. So Fidor Bank is actually one of the only banks I know that's really Bitcoin friendly. And they basically just made a partnership with them, and then they use their bank. They use their money transmitter license. That's the best way I can explain it. It's kind of like piggybacking. So they kind of accept, and they want to make it so that if you have an account at Fidor, a bank account, that you can, connect that with your Bitcoin.de account. But that's the same account that I was talking about that Kraken uses with their European bank account. So it's also pretty cool.
Even though I don't understand how Ripple works yet, it looks like it's pretty promising. According to Ripple CEO Chris Larson, the perception that banks are fighting against open source technologies like the Ripple or Bitcoin protocols isn't accurate. Rather, he said these institutions recognize the promise, but are naturally conservative when it comes to strategic change. He told CoinDesk, quote, "Obviously, banks are really cautious about any new technology. Regulations are very complex. But at the same time, I think they're seeing that these technologies can solve a real problem that we have in our value exchange system, both globally and domestically." There's a lot wrapped up in that quote.
Yeah, it's a good quote, but it kind of overlooks the fact that their jobs depend on the status quo. And you're now dealing with a financial industry that has, for a very long time, loved innovation and the automation of lower classes and lower stratas of society, like the miners and all that kind of thing. But now it's about to happen to them. And I can tell you firsthand that I've met people. I hang out in these regions. I tweet out all the time. My Twitter account. I go to these horrible events, with these people that I won't even say any bad things. I'll just leave it. But like, they have told me, like, obviously they're worried about their jobs. They're worried that 10 lines of code is about to do away with their job, and that frightens them.
Well, they should be a little more valuable than 10 lines of code if they're worried about that.
Yeah, but the key thing is that you should never take it easy. You should never assume like your job is finished. Like, your job is actually to automate your job away so that you can then raise up and then get a more valuable job.
Agreed. Enhanced banking. Many banks, especially in the U.S., continue to be apprehensive about working with Bitcoin companies to the point that some startups struggle to access banking services as a result. Yet some, like CBW and Cross River, are looking at distributed transaction settlement technologies as a way to bring their business models into the 21st century. Gilles Gade, CEO and president of Cross River, said in a statement that his partnership with Ripple enables it to test next-generation payment infrastructure while remaining compliant with U.S. law. And I'll skip his quote because it's boring, but I think that really seems to be the issue. They're like, we get it. We're a small bank, and we could benefit from using this like crypto technology, all these open source technologies. Ripple people are using this to send payments to each other. We got to get in on this. If we're going to stay relevant, if we're going to grow as a bank, we've got to be on this, cryptocurrency tear. And these people have the right permissions. They've their licenses from government. We'll just use them, piggyback off of it, and then make our money. So that we get to be, I don't know, like first in the industry. They get some press from this news article and probably others to follow. But do you think they even really understand what the protocol is? Maybe I'm just projecting.
No, they don't. They don't understand. Well, they do, but they're overlooking the fact that the Bitcoin is a system that where everyone plays by the same rules, and they're coming from an industry that by design they can change the rules, but that they only play the game knowing that they can cheat. And now they're being led into a new game where everyone has to play by the same protocol, and that terrifies them because they would like to reverse transactions. They would like to be able to say, look, I didn't mean it. Can we just rub that out? Or can we print some more money because we're running out? They won't be able to do that with Bitcoin, and that's probably why they're going with Ripple.
Don't you think they're looking at Bitcoin saying, though, hey, we got the Bitcoin Foundation here. They pay these three programmers that run the protocol and run the blockchain. All we got to do is get in good with the Bitcoin Foundation, and they'll change the software for Bitcoin to do whatever the hell we want.
Yeah, I agree, but I think that'll backfire badly.
They might think that. I think they're not that. I think they know that it's not quite that simple. But I mean, some of them might be thinking that they can. I think some people definitely think they can, leverage whatever lobby group or whatever other group to, for their interests. I mean, that's what a lot of people are doing, and I think that's of course they look at that.
Theo, you gave a cursory explanation of Ripple, but is there anyone here who can give me a solid explanation of how Ripple works? Like, explain it like I'm 5.
Ripple is a transaction network. It's centralized, completely pre-mined, owned by its founders, one of whom had a falling out and sold all of his Ripple. So it's like Bitcoin Lite. You could send transactions over it. So the banks are probably going to use it to send transactions from bank to bank.
Okay, thank you. I get that explanation. It concerns me that it would be totally centralized, though. It seems like that's a pretty...
Yeah, it's not interesting for a lot of people that I've talked to that are into crypto. It's totally uninteresting, boring, and not only do people not understand it, they don't even want to understand it because it doesn't really seem useful, because it's not really...
Let's move on. That's interesting.
Yeah. I've got some breaking news, Derek. Do you want to hear it from Twitter?
Break it.
Yeah.
Chris will like this. This is about the show that Dark Wallet was compared with. They were compared with Bellingcat, which is an open source journalism type group. And they've just announced an open source investigative journalism platform called Investigathon. And they're working together with OCCRP, which is the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project, and they're just announcing this Investigathon London project.
What? That's awesome.
This is happening right now, like 5 minutes ago. So again, we have more in common with these people than we have differences. These are our people. So
Yeah, way more, way more. And these guys are using, at the moment they're using centralized timestamp, using CheckDesk, which is an open source protocol that we're looking at as well. And I'd really love it if Chief Scientist Peter Todd could get the code for CheckDesk and just put in some timestamps, some blockchain-based timestamps, because that would just seal the deal for me. If every evidence that you provide towards a story had a hash that could be used anywhere on the internet to cite that evidence forevermore, then we wouldn't, first of all, it would eliminate fraud to the point where, as a propagandist trying to pump up an agenda, you'd have to work really, really hard. You'd have to keep remaking your images so they generated different hashes. You'd have to put it out over more networks. And also it would get rid of redundancy in journalism. At the moment, you've got loads of journalists all going off and investigating the same thing. Now they can actually share sources without necessarily revealing the actual identities of those sources, because remember, it's public-private cryptography. You can actually just put a hash in the blockchain. It doesn't reveal the identities of the people that it refers to. It's just a random string of numbers, but you can prove that it exists. And then you can go to a trusted third party that enough people agree is a trusted party, and you can say, you witnessed this, hash the information, does that equal the same hash, sign that with your PGP key. You've now got however many people have said that I've witnessed the contents of this black box. The public can't see it, but these trusted individuals that the public have approved have seen it, and they vouch for the authenticity of the source. And that takes journalism to a whole new level.
Is there anything like that that's ever existed in history?
No, it can't. It can't exist because we've never had a dispassionate witness like technology before. A camera doesn't care about what it's taking a picture of, and that's the key thing. And when you start hashing this stuff and you put it in a blockchain, that it gets really, really powerful very quickly.
Agreed. Shall we move on to Butterfly Labs? What's going on there? Butterfly Labs, the Federal Trade Commission announced yesterday it had shut down Butterfly Labs following approval by a U.S. judge. That's a lawyer in a black dress. And for many outraged customers, the closure is the end of a long period of uncertainty. Though initially a market leader in the Bitcoin mining space, the last few months of the Missouri-based company operations were defined by manufacturing delays, troubled public image efforts, and looming legal problems. Actually, I think that was pretty much since day one. Speaking to CoinDesk FTC attorney Leah Frazier, who works for the agency's Division of Financial Practices, said that the investigation began after it received a groundswell of Thomas's complaints. The FTC serves as it actually says consumer complaint, but it was mostly Thomas. The FTC serves as a repository for U.S. consumers who wish to report instances of fraud, identity theft, and unfair business practices, though it cannot resolve individual complaints. So, Thomas, are you happy? Are you happy with what you did? You've shut down Butterfly Labs. Now nobody gets anything.
Pretty happy, yeah.
Well, I'm serious. Is this a solution? I mean, couldn't there be a better solution?
Yeah, well that's what I was.
We don't really know what was going on inside Butterfly Labs. We don't know for sure that they were mining with our hardware. We don't know for sure how many refunds they were doing, how many requests for refunds they got, how many machines they actually shipped. They've been operating in a black box. And all we know is that as customers, we didn't get what we wanted when we wanted it. And that's what the FTC is for. That's what consumer protection is about. If a business promises something and they don't deliver, they should give you a refund pretty much immediately. I think what happened here is, like Theo said, it's a matter of this pre-sale idea. I think they pre-sold, they used that money to build their factory, and then when the pre-sales didn't work out and people wanted their money back, the money was stuck in their factory. It was stuck in their thing, and they couldn't give it back. So they made a bunch of excuses, and they had a bunch of manufacturing problems, and whatever else happened, they failed to deliver. So
they failed. They committed fraud. Now their assets are frozen. So are you going to get your money? Not
Yay,
let's use
government. Yay, regulation. Yay.
Yeah. Hey, wait. I was thinking maybe they're going to auction off the miners. You know, maybe we can Maybe we can buy them all in one block, like the whole whatever's left in the warehouse. They're like, okay, we've got these.
By the time they do that, they won't even be paperweights. They'll just be like
Yeah,
scrap
well,
metal.
maybe I don't know, but it would be a funny thing if that happened. Maybe they've got a secret miner in the warehouse that nobody knows about, with some really crazy ASICs or something, or some weird technology. That would be interesting. No, I see what you mean, Derek. I mean, I don't know if people are really going to get their money back. I doubt it. I think people just need to, learn. I would be really cautious if you participate in a pre-sale, especially for miners. I mean, that's why I said I thought they had a really bad reputation. I was surprised that it was still continuing, but I don't know all the details about what the last sale was, or what the last claim, or what the deliveries were like for the last batch. But I was surprised that people continued to buy their miners because they have such a horrible reputation.
Well, let's dig into this and figure out what's really going on. The FTC has indicated that Butterfly Labs' assets have been temporarily frozen until a September 29th hearing. So in a few days, they'll have their money back. The 10-day restraining order, however, could be extended, and the investigators are continuing to develop their case against Butterfly Labs. Skipping along, it says, the FTC's move to freeze the company's finances has raised concerns regarding the future of its refund payments, you think, which many customers are still seeking. Fraser told CoinDesk that currently all funds previously in control of Butterfly Labs are being held until the hearing later this month. So I don't know if we're ever going to get anything. This is not a solution, in my opinion. It sucks that this company engaged in fraud. The solution is to not do business with them, put them out of business.
That's what this has done. No one will do business with them in the future. No one can make the mistake of pre-ordering a miner with them today. No one can do anything with them today. They are frozen. They are out of the market. All of the future consumers cannot be ripped off. So they've been protected.
I'm just of the opinion that people should be free to make bad choices and buyer beware. So, I mean, people who knew about Butterfly Labs since day one didn't buy. And I'm sorry that some people get ripped off.
We really don't know how bad they were. We don't know if they were pre-mining. We don't know. We know machines were ready and they're running them the whole time. They have a huge cache of Bitcoins. Maybe the government's going to get access to those Bitcoins. It's going to be pretty transparent if they've been hoarding Bitcoins. We're going to find out all these things. So it's a lot better.
This is why we need Bitcoin nightmares.
What's
that? Go around. Bitcoin Nightmares is just like Kitchen Nightmares. Have you seen the show?
No,
Gordon Ramsay.
Oh,
you know Gordon Ramsay?
Yeah. Oh, that would.
He goes into the restaurants that are having trouble, and he tells them that they're fucking idiots, and he tells them to clean their stuff up and to make real food and stop using microwaves and shit. So what the idea I had a long time ago, of course, it was a little bit of a joke, but it would be cool if someone had the resources, is to make something called Bitcoin Nightmares, but it's more of a surprise. And so it's just like this van, and it goes up to like exchange offices, and it has like a van, and it like monitors their traffic, and then you just like bust in there and go, okay, where's your cold storage? How are you storing things? Show us that. And they're like,
I can't believe you're storing cold storage underneath this cat. You can't store cold storage underneath the cat.
If Butterfly, you could have gone to Butterfly Labs. Okay, let's see the warehouse. What are you doing? Where are you? What's going on? And just do a surprise audit. But I don't know. I guess would take a lot of resources to have this little van going around doing that. But it would be it would be a good show.
Fascinating show. Definitely, I am for it. All right, so Butterfly Labs, they're shut down. Thanks, government. Maybe you will bring justice this time. It will be the first time. PayPal.
And this does go back to the Mt. Gox issue. Remember Mt. Gox? We had no idea what was going on inside there. This is just like
found Mt. Gox sooner. Then everything would be.
If we had that cryptographic proof, remember how Kraken and other exchanges talked about proving their reserves on the blockchain?
Yeah.
Some kind of agreements like this, like if future companies operated more in the open, thanks to Bitcoin, they now can without any threat to their valuables. We would know what's going on inside. We would say, hey, they're making this much. They're putting it here. They keep it in these accounts. We would know what's going on. And In the past, that was impossible.
Hasn't they? Hasn't Kraken, made that the new standard by voluntarily, releasing all their data? They're like, hey,
There was a few people
Unfortunately
that did it
not.
at the same time.
what do you
There
mean?
was a few people that
I
did it
think
at the same
they've
time.
done it.
Theo.
There's been some partial progress. I'm not sure we have it all yet, though. It's very complicated to get it all
Yeah,
out
it's
there.
I don't know. I don't believe they're all using the exact same system, and there were a lot of questions brought up about Bitstamp's audit that they did, and I don't know. It was they released some audit, but the audit itself was 1 or 2 months old, and at the time there was a lot of people having trouble withdrawing. But it seems like everything is relatively okay there now. But all I know is there were a lot of interesting questions brought up about Bitstamp's audit, and I don't think every exchange was audited, but I think of course, Mt. Gox brought that to the forefront that exchanges might need to be audited by a third party. But on the other hand, Enron was audited by third parties too.
Mhm.
So I mean, it doesn't mean it's not
Yeah.
foolproof. It's just
Well, it
another. I
does.
mean, you can. Mhm.
It only verifies that they've been honest in the past. It doesn't verify they're always going to be honest in the future. And it only does Bitcoin. It doesn't do fiat. So the problem with Bitstamp was they got a friend in Mike Kern to audit it. And of course, yeah, if you get someone friendly to audit it, all he's really done is he's sold a bit of his brand equity. That's what they call it in media. You're selling your brand equity. But now what he's done is he's effectively staked his reputation on Bitstamp being forwardly honest. And so if they screw up, he's almost like signed a guarantor, like on a mortgage or something. He's kind of put his name and said, look, if you screw this up, a bit like Bitcoin Jesus did with the Gox video, where it was like he was being held at gunpoint to the camera saying, I have checked all of MT Gox's accounts and I can verify that they are all in order. And he was literally just reading this thing out. And I'm like, this is such a put-up job. Like literally, he's just been wheeled in, Bitcoin Jesus, to say that MT Gox is solvent when clearly they weren't. We know that now.
And
Wait.
remember, we still have one strange company out there, BTC-E. No one knows who owns it. No one knows
And
where they
this is-
are. This is the next
This
one.
is the beauty of it, though. Like, this is the beauty of it, though, because they just do it. Like, every time there's a problem, they fix the problem. And you know why? Probably is because they don't want to cause any trouble. Whatever they're doing on the back end, I have no idea what they're doing on the back end, whether, allegations abound. But the fact is that they have been the sturdiest, most resilient Bitcoin exchange since the beginning. They've been going all this time. And yes, there were people couldn't get their money out for a while, but they nearly always got, yes, the support is awful on there, but they nearly always get the problem sorted. They go down for a few hours, they come straight back up again, everyone's funds are there.
Yeah, they did it. I don't think that's going to be the next one, and I don't want to. I don't have any evidence of any of them not being solvent. However, I think that Cryptsy is like really buggy, and there's repeated complaints about people not being able to withdraw, and I don't know. Either maybe they're solvent, but their whole system is just going to complete crap, and people complain a whole lot about it. And the thing is, we know Cryptsy is a registered American company, I think in Florida, and we know who they are, we know who's behind it, but it still doesn't work right. And BDCE, we don't know who the hell it is, but like Chris says, it works great. And they always fix everything, and they come up with solutions. During the whole China crash this year in April, they were like, okay, forget it. You know what we're going to do? We're going to make it so people can deposit Chinese money onto our exchange. So they just said, forget all this China shit. We're just going to make a way. I think they called it offshore yuan. They called it, and they had like some weird bank account in Hong Kong or somewhere where you can, deposit yuan. And so they kind of solved that a little bit too. This whole China FUD thing, because after that you heard a lot less, or had a lot less effect.
The most successful businesses and projects in this whole space have been the ones that are started by anonymous founders that did not play by the established regulatory environment. They just did it permissionless. Ever since the beginning. Go back, check it.
Hey, speaking of people who have been operating successfully without permission, I want to just make a reminder that there's Ross Ulbricht, who's still in prison awaiting trial. He's a hero of mine, and if you want to donate to help his legal defense, it's at freeross.org. There's another member of the Silk Road, or alleged admin, named Andrew Jones, who's getting far less media attention, and I want to bring some media attention to him now. His website is drewsdefense.org, drewsdefense.org. He's currently under house arrest at his parents' house. They've put up $1 million bail. That's $1 million that his parents raised on their own by putting up their house, remortgaging, and putting up their own retirements. So if you want to help Andrew Jones, do it at drewsdefense.org. We have a caller. Caller, you are on Bitcoin Talk Show. Go ahead with your thoughts. I hear you there. We hear some rustling. All right, well, we'll leave you on the air, and when you feel comfortable sharing your thoughts, go ahead. Until then, why do you say we move along to PayPal announces first partnerships in Bitcoin space? Shall we, guys? All right. From Coindesk.com, Pete Rizzo writes, oh, here we go. We'll try this. This is Skype caller. Hey, Munjal Shah, you are on Bitcoin Talk Show. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Thanks, Derek. I just wanted to tell you guys about what we've been working on, if that's okay.
Yes. Who are you, and what have you been working on?
Yeah, sounds great. So, so my name is Munjal Shah. I've been working with two teams right now. So the first is the Bitcoin comic book.
Oh, right.
Yeah, exactly. So you've heard about it.
I have.
Yeah, sure. I think Jamie interviewed someone from the Bitcoin comic a few days ago.
Oh, great. Yeah, it might have been Alex or Jeff. Not sure. So Alex is the one who the architect behind the entire project, and they're working together with Swarm, which is the Bitcoin 2.0 protocol, where they're creating the first crypto equity-based crowdfunding platform. And so, I mean, I'm not just giving all these shameless plugs. I guess they tie together because the Bitcoin comic book is the first project that's being launched on the Swarm network. So they're both really exciting projects. And I guess more to the reasoning behind the project. We dedicated the book to Hal Finney. Just because he was smart enough to know that the technology, building the technology itself behind Bitcoin wouldn't be enough to account for its just its widespread adoption. In order to truly reap the benefits and all the freedom that we can get via all the cryptocurrency and Bitcoin network that was created.
And who is Hal Finney, for those who don't know?
Oh, okay. So Hal Finney spent a lot of time just working on the Bitcoin protocol. He actually was the first person to receive the first Bitcoin from Satoshi in 2009, and then he spent a lot of time working on the project himself. He recently passed away due to ALS, and he was a really incredible man. And so I guess you guys can all feel free to look research about him yourself. I wouldn't say I'm the biggest expert on him,
but the book is dedicated to him.
But the book is completely dedicated to him, and because just in his pursuit of supporting freedom, right? Having the technology isn't enough to get people to use it, and the way we see it, the merchants are doing a great job. You know, these companies like BitPay, Coinbase, Zappo, all of who've backed the project already. They're doing a great job. Just getting the technology adopted from a business perspective, but to truly reach individuals, we wanted to create kind of an easy format for people to understand what is finance, how does the government kind of regulate money already, and where are our freedoms kind of where can we increase our freedom, and so from that perspective, we went out and we created this book. We spent a year developing it, and now it's actually launched. So what we're doing is we're doing a pre-sale on the book right now. So far, we've reached 55% of our goal of obtaining 42 Bitcoin. So if all the viewers on the show could support it, that would be amazing.
Yeah, where's the pre-sale happening?
Yeah, so you go to swarm.co, that's swarm.co/comic coin, so it's COMICCOIN. Any amount of donation would be great. Right now it's 0.05 Bitcoin per comic, and I guess we like to say that it's kind of at a discounted rate right now, given that we're accepting Bitcoin and not fiat. So, because the price of Bitcoin's dropped so much recently, the goal is this, right? If you can get out and just, extend the really warm Bitcoin network to our friends and family, and just explain to them in a really simple concept, in a really simple way, that this is what Bitcoin is, right? It's this adventure thriller where you have Alice and Bob as characters, and Bob was mistakenly kidnapped, thinking that he was, because the government thought that he was Satoshi Nakamoto, and so because of that, he has to go along and learn what Bitcoin really is and what the blockchain is. So it's a really fun way, just via comic, to understand a lot of the basic principles behind Bitcoin. And we have a lot of exciting partnerships being formed in the background, but the real goal is to get this into the hands of average consumers like you and I, so just to help educate. This is a purely educational project. The first 1,000 copies we're pre-selling, we're making zero profit on. It would be great if it could take off, but for now we just want to get it in the market and spread the love and the knowledge behind Bitcoin so that everyone can understand it.
Wow, that is an exciting project. So it sounds like it will be a print copy comic book, is that correct?
Yep, exactly. So it's going to be launched by around November. So we're hoping to get it in by the holidays. Right now, it's currently available in Spanish. We're translating it into English. So that's kind of the one thing holding us back from launching it today. But it will be ready to be sold, or rather, it's ready to be sold now. But it'll be published and ready to go out the doors sometime mid-November. So if anyone wants to get it for a Christmas gift for their friends, it's probably only about, well, these Bitcoin prices, probably about $17 to $20, I'd say right now, because it's 0.05 Bitcoin. And what I could do, I guess there's two ways to buy. The first one is we have a direct Bitcoin address, or you can sign up directly on the Swarm platform. Either way, the money will come in, and we'll also you also by buying in, you get comic coin, which is a bit of a complicated explanation, but pretty much the goal for this is to be a crypto equity platform, right? So pretty much by purchasing the comic book during this pre-sale, you get comic coin, and by getting comic coin, you'll get, for now, you'll be able to vote on the potential cover, the title of the book, and
cool.
So cool, right? And then as the regulations, I think this is the easiest way to say it, as the regulations continue to progress, if this does take off and it becomes, a film, or it does become profitable, a percentage of all profits will go towards all of these participants who have comic coin. So it's a really exciting project. That's why at the beginning I was explaining both Swarm's platform and this Bitcoin comic book project. But yeah, I mean, I would really recommend everyone to at least take a look at it, right? Because I think about $17 to $20 should be within everyone's budget. And yeah, so it's a really exciting project that I think everyone should at least take a look at.
How many pages is the comic book?
It's about 120 pages.
Whoa. That's a thick book.
Yeah, exactly. Well, to explain all of this in a subtle way, you need to kind of make a story behind it. So it is educational, but it's with the purpose that people can actually read a comic book, and then on the way be like, kind of tie together what Bitcoin is subtly without even realizing it. So
I love it.
Can I ask you a few questions? So if I understand it, it was, if I read right, I don't know if the deadline is passed, but if you want to spend I don't know, I think it's like 5 or 10 bitcoins, and you get like you can have an appearance in the comic. Is that right?
That's exactly correct. Yeah. So we've had cameo appearances,
Uh-huh.
and those are still available. So if anyone wants to spend 5 Bitcoin, you can go ahead and get a cameo appearance in the comic book. We've already had one sold, and yeah. So anyone else who's interested, I am meeting. I don't know how much I should really say, but I'm meeting with some very big comic book enthusiasts in the Bitcoin space this week. And so there's a good chance that we'll sell another one this week. But yeah, it really depends on everyone's budget and what they're willing to contribute to the project. But
So the
small.
the other question sorry to cut you off. The other question I have is so what happened is I bought a little bit of Swarm because I thought it was a cool project, and then I just opened my Counterparty wallet the other day and I noticed I have some Comic Coin. So what the hell do I do with it?
Oh, yeah, perfect. So what you're going to do with it is when the comic book is ready to be distributed, you'll be able to use the comic coin just to be able to just to be able to redeem the book, and then in addition you'll have more. We're still determining based on regulations what we'll be able to do with it, but you'll get voting rights on the book as well.
What regulations would keep you from doing anything you want?
He's talking about dividends, I think. It's the question is dividends, right?
Yeah, it's about dividends and about whether we can actually distribute the potential dollars or the potential money that's created by the revenue that's created by the project.
Like, yeah, so if it increases in value, if there were some sort of dividends or something and you wanted to give people some value, you might be prohibited from giving people value?
Yeah, exactly. That's the point. But we're working on it. That is the end goal of the project. But for now, the best we can do is, keeping this on the same type of an Indiegogo type of platform. We want to be able to give people more than just the book that they're receiving. So in this case, it's an investment in the project, and by investing in the project, you'll also be able to vote on where the project goes. And really, it's kind of the way the whole Bitcoin community works. If you have a really strong opinion about something, you can reach out to us, tell us that you have Comic Coin, and we'll take your input and maybe even make changes. So this book is whoever's that it purchases, because that's the purpose that it was created for.
Wow, that's really cool. Any other questions for this caller? I want to know, are you a comic nerd? Are you like, did you grow up reading comic books? Is this an interest of yours that you've always had, or is this a new thing because of, you wanted to find a new way to spread the good word of Bitcoin?
Yeah, so I did. I was a comic enthusiast growing up. I would definitely say that. I was big into Calvin and Hobbes.
You don't want to use my term nerd. Enthusiast, that sounds a little more positive.
I would say that I am an enthusiast, and the writer himself is. So I have no issue saying that. I guess I would say his passion exceeds mine with respect to comics, but I think the real purpose behind it was that, explaining Bitcoin. Well, most people are afraid of Bitcoin for two things, right? One is it brings up technology, and the second is that it brings up finance. So if you were to kind of, even the merchants that I've spoken to, all of these, your BitPays of the world, your let's see, your Coinbases of the world, all of them say the same thing. 70%, around 70% of the time that they spend trying to convince merchants to adopt their technology, it's all education based. They're teaching people what Bitcoin is. So it's even amongst really smart people, it's a difficult protocol to understand. Trustless, it's trustless. What does that even mean? So Alex realized that it's really one of the easiest ways to transmit information or transfer information is via images, right? You buy an image, a picture is worth 1,000 words, so you can transfer very complex information in just very simple terms. So that was the main purpose behind the comic book, and we really hope it takes off, right? If it does, we'd be able to maybe make it profitable and create a movie out of it. I don't know, and make puppets. You never know how these things can go, but we're taking it one step at a time, and I think I would say the easiest way for people to get involved now would just be to participate in the pre-sale. We're hoping to sell out. Right now we're at 55% of our goal. 21 days left, so anything anyone could do. I guess what I could do, I would say, what's the easiest way to pass on this information? Would it be via our Bitcoin address? Because obviously that's too long. Or should I just tell people to go to swarm.co/comic-coin?
That's the one. Yeah, we've already shared it on the screen, and we'll put it in the show notes at BitcoinTalkShow.com. So when people go back and watch this episode later on, at least they can see it there, and at WorldCryptoNetwork.com. I think it would be pretty easy to add a link to those couple of places. Thomas isn't here. He would. Oh no, yeah, he is here. So Thomas, could we add a link for this? Say yes. He's muted.
Sure.
Yeah, he said yes. All right, there you go. You ask and you shall receive.
Sounds great.
Anything else you want to share tonight?
No, that would be it. If anyone has any questions, they can feel free to reach out to you. You can connect you guys to me, or email me directly at munjal@bitcoincomic.org.
Okay.
Aside from that, thank you so much for giving me time on the platform. Really love your work, and thanks for the support, guys.
Cool. Thank you. Keep doing awesome stuff. We'll talk to you later. Peace, man.
Thanks, Derek.
All right, that was a cool call. Munjal at comiccoin.org. Very
Yes, I really like the comment project because it is true. You can give that to someone, and it'll open up a new way to explain it. Because some people, when they read a comic, they'll get it.
Oh.
If you just explain stuff to them, they don't really get it. But some people, when they read a book or they read a comic or something, they'll get it. Or kids, they'll read a comic and they'll understand Bitcoin. But if you just try to explain it to them, they might not really get it, or it might sound boring, or some people I talk to, I try to explain it and they're like, I don't care about economics. It's banks. Fuck it, I don't care.
It sounded like a lot to me for a comic book, but then I was like, well, if this comic book has the power to teach my friends about Bitcoin, who otherwise would not be interested, it is well worth that $20. Because, you're right. Like, sometimes you bring up the blockchain and people's eyes just glaze over, like, oh, man, he's going to get into something boring. Let's tune out. Let's change the discussion and just, celebrities or something. But if I could hand some friends a comic book and they would read it, that would be educational and fun. And it's exactly what we need. Like, he's right. 70% of the time these companies spend talking to merchants about Bitcoin adoption, they're just educating them about what Bitcoin is. If we could get past that point, it's like if the cavemen invented wheels and then needed to explain to all the other cavemen why wheels are good. Like, guys, add wheels to stuff. Really, it's going to make your life so much easier. And
that's a good analogy.
Yeah, it's this thing, and has a curve, and the curve.
What's a curve? No,
Yeah.
What's a curve?
Yeah, it's this. It's kind of like a square with no point.
Yeah, so they need the story, the whole Satoshi Bitcoin story, and it sounds like there's some entrapment, government, good and evil fighting going on, and it's 120 pages or something. That's a thick book. I mean, he calls it a comic book. I'm thinking it's like a couple of pages of rag.
Graphic novel. It sounds like a graphic novel.
Yeah. It's called a graphic novel. That sounds nicer.
It's a very good idea, and it sounds similar to what Coin Artist was working on. I don't know if she still is, but she was going to do. But hers was interactive media, not a comic book. But I love the idea of the cameo appearances. That's actually really. I can't afford it, but it's actually really tempting.
Hey!
I'd love because you're being part of history.
Yeah, let's get Chris in the comic book. Let's just all get Chris in here, and we could crowdfund for that. It'll be our next project. All right.
Yeah, but it does sound good.
Want to turn to PayPal? This is big. Everyone said this is the biggest news of the week, so we should talk about it. Bitcoin announces first partnership in Bitcoin space. According to CoinDesk.com, PayPal has announced partnerships with 3 major payment processors in the Bitcoin space: BitPay, Coinbase, and GoCoin. I don't even know any others. Can we name any others? There must be some. Anyway, they chose the good ones. Though the online e-commerce pioneer stopped short of integrating Bitcoin into its digital wallet or payment processing services directly, the move marks PayPal's first formal offering in the Bitcoin community. In a blog post penned by Senior Director of Corporate Strategy Scott Ellison, PayPal revealed that online merchants will now be able to accept Bitcoin via all three companies through its PayPal Payments Hub. I don't know what that is. Does anyone use that? Is that what you use during checkout? I don't even know. We'll figure it out.
I think so. I think it's what you use during checkout, but I'm not sure. But it sounds good.
Yeah. It processes it's product that enables customers to accept credit cards, mobile carrier payments, and other payment methods through a single integration. So yeah, that's exactly what it is. Sounds like they're going to add a little option, just like everyone else does, you know, where it's like pay with MasterCard, pay with Visa, pay with Discover, pay with Bitcoin. It's like, oh, you just check that little box, and there you go. Ellison lauded BitPay, Coinbase, and GoCoin for their commitment to ensuring consumer protections on the platform, and while suggesting that the offering will appeal to a number of its key consumer groups, writing, quote, "We believe digital goods merchants will be excited to work with these industry-leading companies to sell ringtones, games, and music, and get paid with Bitcoin." Are those the things people are really excited to spend Bitcoin on? I don't know. I don't think I've bought any of those things with Bitcoin. Notably, the announcement follows the decision of PayPal subsidiary Braintree to partner with Coinbase earlier this month. And like, did that go anywhere? Did anyone spend anything? Braintree, don't they have like Swift, or what was that thing called? That gaming platform that they have? What does Braintree do?
I think it's Uber and Airbnb.
Right.
Braintree is like PayPal's R&D division, so they're advanced stuff.
Right. Thank you, Thomas. PayPal is available in 193 markets and 26 currencies, with 143 million active registered accounts and $6.6 billion in revenue at the end of 2013. The e-commerce giant brings the potential for new users and new businesses to the Bitcoin economy. I think that's really the point here. That's why this is the story of the week, is because 193 markets, 26 currencies, 150 million active registered accounts almost, and over $6 billion in revenue in 1 year. I mean, that's huge. And now they're going to be accepting Bitcoin. That's going to be a game changer.
So yeah, but it's going to be, maybe it's going to be a game changer. You're right. I just don't know what it's going to look like. So if I have a PayPal account, am I going to get Bitcoins on my PayPal account or whatever? But it's going to help. It's going to help people get exposed.
I know exactly what it's going to look like. I mean, I can't say this with certainty, but I can envision it. You've got your PayPal screen. It's got your USD and your Bitcoin, you know, in two separate accounts. It'll put them in the value for, like, based on BitcoinAverage.com or something, and it'll say, like, this is about how much you've got in Bitcoin. Do you want to transfer it? So you could probably go in between dollars and Bitcoin in your PayPal account, like, oh, I'm a little light on dollars. I should sell some of my Bitcoin, and then
well, maybe it'll be exchangeable like that. I don't know. We don't know, and we also don't know. So at the moment, I believe the sender of PayPal money has to pay fees sometimes, depending on who you send it to.
Right.
So I guess with Bitcoin they won't do that, but maybe they will. But it doesn't matter, because if they do it, then people, as soon as they get exposed to Bitcoin, they'll figure out, oh shit, I don't need PayPal to have Bitcoin. So if they charge a lot of fees, they're going to figure out that it won't work because people won't use it then. I think that's what would happen. So I think they probably realize that and won't charge so many fees, or I don't know how I'm just trying to figure out, how does PayPal make money with this?
It's a great question. Here's the
answer. You
know
what I mean? Because that's as soon as someone adapts like that, I'm like, okay, that's great. So what's the idea? What are they going to do? How are they going to? I mean, they're getting a lot of marketing.
BitPay, Coinbase, and GoCoin will pay a referral fee to PayPal for new businesses they gain through the platform, meaning their existing pricing structures will be unaffected by the move. So there's your answer. BitPay, Coinbase, and GoCoin, they pay a referral fee to PayPal for the new businesses that they acquire. So it sounds like if I'm BitPay, Coinbase, and GoCoin, I'm already going around to businesses saying, hey, you should take my service. It'll be great. You can integrate, blah, blah, blah. You can take payments. And then Now they'll be able to say, and you can use Bitcoin. And when they sign on new merchants with the PayPal addresses, BitPay, Coinbase, and GoCoin, they pay PayPal for that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Cool.
So yeah, BitPay only charges fees if you want to use the helpline. But if you're a big business or a middle-sized company or even a small company, you might want that if you're doing a lot of Bitcoin business.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, so that's what they would. And then they would get a kickback. They would pay for that. So basically, they're paying PayPal for the referrals, like you said. That's how they're going to make money.
So let's talk about their business model. Ellison framed the decision as the latest way PayPal is seeking to support the Bitcoin ecosystem, pointing to its past efforts to help companies in the Bitcoin mining space accept PayPal for their products. However, Ellison suggested that PayPal is conscious of the controversies that have dominated this segment of the Bitcoin industry, and that its support will continue for merchants that meet certain criteria, writing, quote, "To safeguard customers, we've decided not to work with merchants who pre-sell these products. This is consistent with our approach to pre-sales of any other goods. We hold off anytime we determine that pre-selling may not provide a good buyer experience." So there you go, Thomas. A market solution. In recent months, a number of Bitcoin mining companies, including early and current market leaders such as Butterfly Labs and Cointerra, have faced lawsuits from customers for failing to deliver equipment on advertised timelines. So it looks like PayPal just won't even take those sorts of pre-sale things. So we get someone a little more legit, someone who says, hey, we're not willing to take that risk, we're a little more conservative, we want to make sure the money's there, we want to make sure the product is there. It might not be as fast or as smooth, but
although PayPal has never allowed pre-orders, and during the Butterfly Labs refund issue, when I was advising people how to get a refund from PayPal, one of the points was PayPal doesn't allow pre-orders. So Butterfly Labs was against these rules the whole time, and no one did anything because it was a market. They were all making money. Got to make the money.
You got to make the money. Let's finish this article up. It says addressing security concerns. It's not really any of my concern. I'm not concerned about security here. I mean, like, that wasn't something I was like, oh, but PayPal, you're taking Bitcoin. I don't know if I can trust it now. In his statements, Ellison also suggested that PayPal has been monitoring conversations surrounding how Bitcoin will be regulated, clarifying that PayPal will only seek to work with Bitcoin companies that offer certain consumer protections. Okay. Reiterating that PayPal needs to follow local laws and regulations in every market it serves, Ellison wrote, quote, "For this reason, virtual currency exchangers and administrators interested in working with PayPal in the future must secure the appropriate licenses and put anti-money laundering procedures in place." PayPal also stated that while other cryptocurrencies have been available for some time, quote, "only Bitcoin has achieved significant scale in the payment space to date." Very exciting to read. I've been waiting for this article for like 2 years, so there it is. It was a joy to read, and way to go, PayPal. I knew you would come around eventually. Anyone else excited about this? I mean, this was the news of the week.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a breaking story that's related to the same thing.
What?
CoinDesk SEOs their front page with the keyword PayPal no less than 10 times on the page. PayPal. And of course, they've been plugging on the announcement of this news. Did you know CoinDesk has their own Reuters-style index for the fund that everyone can use as a guide for price, and this is a very lucrative industry right here. So I just have to play professional cynic here because that's my role. I see it as my duty to play cynic. But isn't there a financial interest between a material interest between CoinDesk and PayPal? Isn't there some co-ownership going on here? And did we not see the price slump?
BitPay and CoinDesk.
Yes, I know, but I've just sent a DM to David Gilson, who used to work there, and I believe that it was him that told me that there is, in some way or another, a material interest between PayPal and CoinDesk, and I'm just waiting for him to get back to me. I may be wrong, and I'm always happy to be proved wrong if somebody else knows. And I'm just very curious about the massive drop-off in price that we had just before this news. I wonder what that was about. I wonder why there was a massive drop, because it's not like no one knew. It's not like nobody knew this was going to happen.
So you think this is a manipulation? That's people dumped, and then
Yeah,
they brought back
that
all the
way.
rumors,
It
and
looked
then
that
they,
way.
you know.
Because I mean, it was too obvious. This was right around the corner, and then I was seeing the price drop. I was like, "What the hell? Bitcoin? Everyone's PayPal. Everyone's ready to integrate." Like,
Bangladesh, man, Bangladesh. Bangladesh banned Bitcoin. That was the story. That's why there was the down.
yeah, sure, that's why it tanked. I couldn't believe it. I was seeing the price go down, and like I said at the beginning of the show, I was talking to local business owners, and they're like frowning at me, like, "What? Bitcoin's going down." I'm mad about that, but it's like, I don't know, man. It seems manipulated. I don't know how to explain it.
I think somebody wanted some cheap bitcoins ahead of the news, because it's not as if nobody knew that this was going to happen. And if you were inside at the time, you probably would have been quite happy for the price to have taken a little dip so you could get a bargain, and then it's going to go up. And that's a vertical climb we just saw on the index. It was a vertical climb on the news. And it wasn't because of my story about Peter Todd either, That was quite clearly, it wasn't anything based on, look at that, vertical line straight up.
That pump was pretty epic. I mean, it went up by like $50 in, I don't know, 1 hour or 1 or 2 hours. We could go back to the hour candles, but it only took about 1 or 2 hours to go over $50 up in price, which is something that we had like last year. When the price was going nuts, you'd have movements like that. But lately, it hasn't been moving like that.
There was a tweet from Jeff Garzik, a Bitcoin developer who also works for BitPay, and he said, "Huge news! So happy we can finally talk about it." So you have to wonder how well this secret was kept, and who knew, and who had the opportunity to do a little insider trading there.
I wouldn't be this cynical were I not to hang out in circles and go to conferences. You've seen me tweet. I do go to industry events, and I'm telling you, I've been out in bars and stuff. I hear shit. Like people, like I heard something last week from somebody at the Bitcoin squat that was like, wow, I should not have heard that. I'm not supposed to have heard that. And then it ended up coming true. And I won't say what it was or who it was, because I don't want to get anyone into trouble. But the point is that people do know things. And then they use that inside knowledge as currency between one another, reputational currency. It's like, I know something that I could tell you, and then you could get a bit of a hit from that. And then if you get a hit, maybe you'll do something for me in the future. I mean, it's all part of the informal economy.
Seems shady.
Well, as long as everyone can do it, I guess. Yeah. I mean,
it's the free market. It's the free market.
Like, yeah, sure, I don't mind. It's just nepotism should work for everyone,
Yeah, sure.
How's the Bitcoin squat working out? What's that all about?
The guys had to move, so they've now moved to a secret location. I got an encrypted message, so I'm going to go there tomorrow.
What? They had to move?
Yeah, of course they had to move because the charitable foundation that owned the building, the very charitable foundation, they actually make donations, so they must be charitable. Don't actually do anything other than make donations, but they are charitable. They had a good team of expensive lawyers. I mean, a good team of lawyers who knew exactly which judge to go to and which paper to fill out. So they got something called an IPO, not an initial public offering, an interim possession order, which is basically, oh, we need this back urgently because something. But their reason for needing it back urgently was that they had a buyer. They've had a buyer since 2009. It's now 5 years.
Want you guys out?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. I mean, I don't want to say that like that. But yes, of course. And so they lied. They lied. They said they had a buyer when it's clear as day from their actions that all they really want to do is let the building deteriorate so that they can shift it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise,
you guys were doing there, you were putting it to good use, weren't you?
Yeah, so we housed some homeless people. Some people were homeless, some people were practically homeless, which means they were homeless by choice, and they could have gone back to families if they'd wanted to. And we had a little hack space where people were, well, I'll be honest, 60% dossing, 30% working, but when they did work, it was like concentrated work. And I've got video footage of that. I've still got a ton of footage there I still need to kind of go through. And And then you had, so it was a little bit of an upstairs downstairs, because the Bitcoin people had the second floor, but then the people that were just squatters, like permanent squatters, were like down on the basement and the ground floor, and we were helping them out. Like people were doing food runs. I was fixing laptops. I was doing things, and I really thought, oh, it'd be really cool if we could set up like people that were from disadvantaged backgrounds or just whatever were facing genuine hardship could come to me, and I could fix their phones. I could get them set up with Bitcoin wallets. We could get them some publicity, help them set up on social media, because these days your CV is your online profile, it's your LinkedIn, it's your Twitter, it's your Google search results. So I could help people with that. I could help them manage their reputations and help them be rewarded for what it is they're good for. Sometimes you just need a friend to sort of say, I know what you're good at, I know what you'd be really cool for, and I can sort of help you get there. Because so many of these people, I met this one guy at the Runnymede, the eco village in Surrey, where you had all these homeless people living in these kind of huts. And one guy, this was fairly typical, he had these great ideas, but he just didn't know the next step that he had to take. Like, he had these big ideas, but it was like, yeah, but now you just need to work out, if you're going to have this botanical garden that you want, you need to work out what seeds, what time of year. So a lot of people just need a friend and a sounding board that they can here's my idea, you tell me, how is this coming across, what should I do next?
Yeah, wow, that's so brilliant and useful. I'm sorry it didn't work out, but I'm sure there will be more.
No, we've got a new one. I mean, these guys just keep moving. They adapt. I mean, these, like I say, these are real entrepreneurs. I know I got trolled to high heaven on the interview that I did with Arthur, because he comes...
honestly, full disclosure, have been completely ignorant of since day one. So if you could give a brief recap, I would appreciate it.
Sure.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Sure. So I was invited to the Bitcoin Squat by Amir. He actually invited quite a few people along. So we were kind of an exclusive group of just, I think he felt like good people that were backing the Bitcoin underlying fundamentals of Bitcoin and the true spirit of it, rather than wanting frictionless payments to Africa and all that sort of marketing stuff. And we got, some of the people slept there. I didn't sleep there, but some people did. I was kind of there most of the time and was sort of in and out. And I slept at Runnymede, actually slept outside at Runnymede. And so I kind of got a flavor for what this nomadic lifestyle was like. And the guardian of the building was Arthur. And even though there was no kind of top-down hierarchy there, he was sort of de facto in charge, because he was the guy that took the initiative to recover the property, to get the electrics set up, to get the water working, to get the toilets working, all that kind of thing. And even though he comes across on my video as being left-wing, whatever that means, and got trolled oh, these are just paid commies and it's same old socialist bullshit. But actually, on the contrary, I found him to be very, very entrepreneurial. He was taking capital and then matching it with unmet needs of the people, which the charitable foundation wasn't doing. And so he wasn't causing any harm. He didn't steal from anyone. As far as I'm aware, he didn't leave the building in a worse state than he found it. I believe he left it in a better state than he found it. In fact, they even did some really cool graffiti on one of the walls, which, otherwise would have been a barren, empty, dead-looking building. And so I just found him to be, politics aside, I don't like politics, I don't like labels. Just look at the ideas. Look, what is he doing? He's taking action. He's housing people. He was feeding people. They get food out of dumpsters, and then and they're out of date, but it's still good to eat. So you're not stealing anything. And we would have these banquets. I tweeted out videos and pictures. He was feeding 12 people, and it just made me think this guy actually walks the walk. He doesn't just talk about shit. He gets on with it. And I felt like he needed more support. So far he's raised 0.36 Bitcoins. I didn't publicize it too much because I didn't know how long I was going to know him for, and whether or not we were going to stay in touch at the time. So I was gently easing into Bitcoin. I've got the private keys because he doesn't have a way of looking after them. But then I'll give those Bitcoins to him, and I'll do another video, and we can kind of follow up. We already got him a headlamp and some tools that he could use when he was recovering other properties. So yeah, 400,000 empty commercial properties that is just being left because the land is going up in value so much that the developers may as well just sit on it.
That is amazing. Thank you for that thorough summary. I appreciate it. I have a much better understanding of what's going on now. I don't have any questions about it, but I appreciate you just summarizing it.
We do have an update on the dark wallet fundraising. As we reported on Mad Bitcoins, BTC Drac is offering 10 Bitcoins in matching funds, and there are now only 1.48 Bitcoin remaining. So if you'd like to donate to Dark Wallet to help to make Bitcoin anonymous, you can use this address on your screen. It goes to a multi-signature wallet that they describe in detail on our Bitcoin, and this is all through BTC Drac, who is matching funds up to 10 Bitcoins. So very cool.
Speaking of our Bitcoin on Reddit, I saw something up there that I didn't understand, and I thought maybe someone could help me. Headline, Scaling Bitcoin. Gavin begins work on an invertible bloom lookup tables on GitHub. I saw his little tweet. Here it is. I'll do a screen share. He says, 3 days ago, it felt good to ignore all the craziness and just write some nice, clean code. And then he provides a link to it. I saw the top comment is by friend of the show, Michelle7 Bitcoin Bell, who writes, at Gavin Andreessen, I, for one, am thrilled the price has, quote, plummeted as it's shut up the vultures so I can hear the creators. Hashtag, it's not about the price. Brilliant. Brilliant. Thank you, Bitcoin Bell. Always here in spirit. So, yeah, what's this about? What's a bloom?
So this is the
bloom lookup table. What's that mean?
So at the moment, what the miners are doing is they're making economic decisions on block distribution, which is limiting the number of transactions that they're putting in the blocks, which is an unintended consequence of the initial design. So in order for you to get your 25 Bitcoin reward as a miner, you need your block, which is all your transactions that you've watched on the network, along with your proof of work, the nonce that we talked about earlier. You need to put them together and you need to push them out for the network. Well, at the moment, the block size, I think the limit is 1 meg per block, but people aren't putting anywhere like 1 megabyte per block because 100 kilobyte block will travel across the network much quicker than a 1 megabyte block will.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
So what they're doing is they're deliberately ignoring blocks. It's entirely discretionary on the miner. And so what Gavin has proposed is something called an invertible bloom lookup table, and you can look that up in Google. There's actually some really cool, I've mentioned it on Chris Before Coffee before, there's some really good description videos, explained like I'm 5 type videos on it. And it basically means that instead of publishing the block straight away, what you do is you publish the header of the block, a very short bit of text, which can propagate across the network much quicker, in lieu of the full block arriving. So everyone just sends off their header, and then when eventually you get the full block, you can say, yes, I was always going to receive this one first because I got the header first. So the person that really comes up with discovers the block first is the one that gets rewarded at the moment.
Oh, clever! Who came up with this?
Well, Gavin did. He's chief scientist, you know, not just Peter Todd is the chief scientist.
Oh,
I mean, everyone knew that it was solvable. It was just he was the genius. Obviously, he had a moment where he was, you know, gazing off into space, as most developers do, and just went, oh, yeah, that's how you do it.
Wow. That is really cool. No wonder it made it to almost the top of r/Bitcoin. Thanks for explaining that. I couldn't get it without that, or it probably would have taken much longer. There was another interesting tweet this week, actually earlier today, by Bruce Fenton, who said, here, I'll do another screen share. I'll spend $5,000 at Amazon, and that's at Amazon on Twitter, if they accept hashtag Bitcoin. How about you? Hashtag Amazon Bitcoin. Email jeff@amazon.com. And I think that's a great idea to remind Amazon that people hungry for spending Bitcoins at their website. And if PayPal can do it, Amazon can too. So,
there's also a great reply from CEO Patrick Byrne of Overstock.com saying that come spend $5,000 at Overstock instead. We've accepted Bitcoin since January. We have better prices too.
He's right.
Yeah, that's the greatest comeback. I saw that one too.
That's right. Yeah.
Ding. Well done. I like him. And yeah, screw Amazon. I don't care about them. I want Overstock to overtake them because Patrick Byrne is way cooler than who's the other guy? Jeff
Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, yeah. Screw. A funny meme that I want to share with the viewing audience. This was also on r/Bitcoin. Just, other countries get Bitcoin debit cards, and I'm just sitting here in the home of the free. Yeah, of course, we still don't have any Bitcoin debit cards. Not that I'm aware of. Although a friend of mine, Mandrick over at Blockchain, I thought he has one. Isn't there one that you can have in the U.S.? Is it a Bitcoin ATM or a Bitcoin?
I think there is one,
Yeah.
but
Why don't I
yeah.
have one? What do you need? A million?
Well, I don't think it was that interesting. I mean, it had fees or something. I don't know. I think I looked into it briefly.
That.
Isn't it
there
just
is
a
a company.
prepay?
Zappo released a Bitcoin debit card, but like Theo said, it had a lot of fees. People were pretty upset with it. I'm not sure how that turned out.
That's the one. No, he likes it. He says he's got the Zappo card. He likes it. It's cool. I would do it. I'll pay fees. Who cares? I want to have a Bitcoin debit card.
Yeah, that is kind of cool. But on the other hand, I think you lose some of the features of Bitcoin because I think if someone just got my card, well, I don't know how it works. If I have to have a password, or do I sign? Like I signed for a credit card, or what the hell is that? I mean, if someone stole my Bitcoin debit card, then can't they just steal my Bitcoins? Or I don't know. I'm a little unclear about how that works.
I don't know, but we got to get a little bit faster with this Bitcoin thing. And I don't know anyone, I am really a proponent of Bitcoin spending in real life. I like to ask businesses every day when I'm spending money in their stores, or even when I'm not, when I'm just passing by, I say, hey, do you accept Bitcoin? Hey, do you accept Bitcoin? Have you talked with your manager about accepting Bitcoin? I'm always asking. And when I was in the store yesterday, there were 3 people in line in front of me. 2 of them paid with Bitcoin. I was also paying in Bitcoin. And it was too slow. It was like, all right, we've got this little pause where we're waiting for our phones to like see the QR code. It's got to go to NFC. When are we going to be at NFC payments where those like you could just touch your phone up to a thing and then boom, you've paid? When are we going to be there?
I don't know. That might be possible. I mean, I don't know. I haven't done that much where I've had a line of people. I've just paid at a.
It's annoying, and it should be annoying. I love Bitcoin. To have to wait for 2 people in line in front of me to buy their bag of chips or whatever, and to have it take like 30 seconds. I don't have 30 seconds.
Well, I had a good experience with the Piva wallet and buying the gift cards. That worked really well.
Yeah.
But I learned, but it's true. It didn't. I did it. I tried to do it.
Cash and swiping a credit card though. It's got to get to that point. If it's not going to be faster, I'm not going to use it.
Well,
remember, PayPal demonstrated in their Braintree video that they were going to go head-to-head with Apple Pay, and they did have NFC. So I think that's your first way with PayPal. Your second way is actually going to be with Apple Pay. I don't think that it's inconceivable at all that Apple Pay could add a Bitcoin wallet, Coinbase, or blockchain or anything to the Apple Pay system, and you could actually just pay with Bitcoin through Apple Pay.
Yeah.
The credit card companies aren't going to like that, but it's
they're
coming.
not going to like that, but that is the way it's going to go. I think you're right. You see the future. Hey, we got a question from the chat. One questioner writes, do you think the Bitcoin have our monetary sovereignty? I don't know. He probably just means talk a little bit about monetary sovereignty and Bitcoin. Well, to me, I would say that Bitcoin gives me sovereignty because it's not a government currency. And when I hear about President Obama invading or dropping bombs on Syria, and it's like, oh, another 3 years war, like it's hardly even newsworthy. Another war and started by the U.S., like yawn. I get really saddened and frustrated, but then I get to be relieved knowing that I'm not supporting these wars. When I spend not helping give credibility to the U.S. government. That's one way I have sovereignty through Bitcoin. Any others?
I do think it does remove sovereignty because Bitcoin's not linked to any single nation state. So it truly is global currency, and it removes a lot of the advantages of monetary sovereignty. But that's what we're really talking about here, removing the ability of the Federal Reserve to print money, removing the ability of them to dominate the economic market as they have.
Well, sovereignty to me means freedom, or like independence. I don't know how it removes freedom and independence, Thomas. that just a semantics thing?
I think it's a semantics thing.
Sovereign is of the king, and let's see. Sovereignty is the authority of the state to govern itself or another state. So supreme power or authority. So it removes sovereignty. Like the U.S. government has, well, kind of supreme power over the Federal Reserve notes that they borrow from the Federal Reserve.
Yeah, I see.
Bitcoin system.
I think we're saying half a dozen of one, six of the other. I think we're both saying the same thing in different words.
Yeah.
Jamie? Or excuse me, Theo?
Hi. Sovereignty is what the U.S. just broke by shooting missiles into Syria. They just violated Syria's. I mean, I'm not for nation states either, but it's just a blatant thing. They didn't ask permission. They just said, "Hey, we're gonna do it," and they just shot missiles into that country.
Okay, if we drop some bombs in your country?
No, they didn't ask. They just said, "Hey, we're gonna do it."
You know, this is not Bitcoin related, but I have to say I read a headline that struck me as interesting this morning that the U.S.'s main ally in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, beheaded 8 people last month. So.
Yep. And I know this year they beheaded.
Include some for marijuana possession or marijuana selling in Saudi Arabia. That's full beheading for possession or sales of cannabis. So, very progressive, our allies.
Yeah, not my allies. Anyway,
So
any other thoughts? We're almost coming up on 5 o'clock. We should plug our websites and our shows and stuff.
Well, I was gonna say that we've got a breaking story here in the last 24 hours.
Do it.
That Wall Street ex-executive is suing over the AIG bailout. Apparently, AIG didn't get enough government bailout, and they're now wanting it to be mandatory in the future that they will be bailed out.
Oh my!
And it looks like Mr. Greenberg here. I think this is Greenberg. Yes, it is Maurice Greenberg. Is saying, well, look, the government ended up turning a profit on the bailouts in any case, and apparently even the company disagrees with him. Even his own company disagrees with him. I believe this is a shareholder action.
Wow.
So this is why we need monetary sovereignty to take it away. The problem is you've got far too much concentration of wealth with government. It's not that governing should cease. Absolutely not. It's that the government as a centralized entity becomes a honeypot for any free rider or any parasite that wants to munch away on the cash deposits that they have. The problem with putting all your eggs into one basket is that it only takes a few bad apples to go in and then start seizing that capital from everyone else. But this just ostensibly comes across as absolute hubris on the part of AIG. Insurance is a lucrative cash-rich industry because, of course, they are taking money like the banks up front, and they only have to pay out on so-called exogenous events. Exogenous means like, you know, a hurricane or something like that, that they know because they can calculate. They've got actuaries, people that assess risk in the world, who say, well, look, you know, backdate, you know, if we backward this and we say how many hurricanes have there been in the last 100 years, we can roughly work out based on the past how many there are going to be in the future. And then they mark up the insurance. They add extra money onto the insurance to make sure that they've always got enough in the event of an exogenous event. It only becomes a problem for the insurance company if there are too many exogenous events within a short space of time that they found it hard to predict. But most of these companies use bell curve statistics, so-called Gaussian statistics, which a lot of forward-thinking mathematicians are coming to loathe, because the fact is the people on the outliers of that bell curve distribution are real people too, and they deserve representation. And so just because your product meets the needs of 70%, T20 to T70 or whatever it is in the term, just because you're an average person doesn't mean you're the norm. Truth lies at the edges, not in the middle. So you have these insurance companies who take huge fees up front, and then of course what do? Well, they gamble it like AIG did. They go on the stock market, they start gambling it away, but then they go, oh, whoopsie, lost all that money, need a bailout now. And it's like, and they can, because we need them. And so we become so dependent, but the mistake was in the first place not to become so dependent on them. That was the mistake. And so that's what we were saying at the end of Chris Before Coffee, is that we need to come up with decentralized insurance models. We need to come up with a way that people can pick and choose their insurance policy, where that money is escrowed in a multi-signature type account, where no one person is able to, insurance needs to be reduced to a zero profit industry, just like all these other industries. In fact, profit may even, there's a theory in economics called X inefficiency, I've mentioned it before. I believe the thesis there is that profit is a byproduct of inefficiency in an industry. Just while that industry is growing and you're discovering how, what is the driving force of this industry, what value does it provide in the round, you get inefficiency because people are still working that out. But eventually, with optimal competition in the market, you should fluctuate around zero profit. You'd be like marginally profitable, like telecoms is becoming now. But what happens is the actors in those networks get entrenched. They don't want to move. They get rather stale and complacent. And so then they have to keep layering on more value propositions without really adding any more value. And then, like AIG and the banks, they hold us to ransom and they say, right, either you bail us out or we pull the plug. And because people don't want to suffer now, they'd rather put it on down the road. People say, okay, let's kick the can down the road and see how long we can drag this out.
Get more from Chris. Tweet him at Mr. Chris Ellis, Theo Goodman of SoundWallet.net, and Thomas Hunt. Tweet him at MadBitcoins. Visit him at WorldCryptoNetwork.com. As you can find all of us there, plus this episode and the show notes. We'll be back next Wednesday to talk with you about what's important in the world of Bitcoin. Until next time, I'll leave you with this quote. Money is a collective agreement. If enough people come to the same agreement, what they agree upon becomes secondary, whether it be farm animals, gold, diamonds, paper, or simply a code. Who knows what the future is going to suggest to us as money once we see digital currencies as ordinary. Peace.